Welcome to Film Studies. In this book, we have four modules. The first one deals with major movements and theories. Second one is actually essays on film studies. Third module is case studies of early classics, and the fourth module deals with case studies of contemporary classics. So we are starting off with the first module, where we will be seeing major movements offline, and theories will be dealt with in online classes. So let us go straight to the film theories and the different theories related to films. So the explanation about film theory. What is film theory? It is a scholarly pursuit which attempts to explain the essence of what film is. It is a study of film and how its many elements work together to present a vision of reality. Thus, in the academic world, film theory is a branch of film studies. As such, it is related to literary theory and semiotics or semiology, which is study of signs and symbols. I think you have already seen that in linguistics. So film theory is actually an attempt to explain what is the essence of film, what makes a film. Actually, it is looking at film from various points of view, or from various angles. Film theory is a framework to understand what films mean and how they relate to life. Understanding film theory allows viewers to find new levels of meaning within film. For filmmakers, theory allows us to better hone our tools to create emotional and dramatic impacts on our audiences. So, this film theory will help us to understand films better. And for filmmakers, it will help them to improve their tools and in order to create good quality or better quality films. Plus, in the 1960s, film theory became heavily influenced by semiotics, psychoanalysis, gender studies, and Marxism. All in all, feminist film theory, queer theory, and many of the branches of film theory were solidified during this era. So it is during this 1960s that many theories influenced film theories. Theories like just you have seen theories in literature. More or less same theories you find here also in films, because they are all related. So you have semiotics coming up in another theory you will see in the next class probably, and then psychoanalysis, gender studies, and also Marxism. So all these have really influenced the films or film theories. The 1990s brought the digital revolution. Theorists began exploring the differences between the representation of digital technologies versus the indexical images of analog celluloid. So you find that just like in any other field, there is a kind of evolution that is taking place even in filmmaking or filmmaking. You have seen that in drama, how drama evolved from Greek theatre. So same way you find films also evolving. And as part of evolution, you find that in 1990s there is a sudden change that becomes a revolution because of the arrival of the digital technologies, which actually made some of the old technologies extinct, like analog celluloid. That is a film-based photography. Nowadays, you don't find any films. Even cameras, you find just a memory card. So that technological change that has taken place even in movies. As technologies have progressed, contemporary film theory now looks at where and how we encounter cinema. New theories explore spectatorship and a collective experience of cinema. So now you find that films have no kind of boundaries. You can encounter movie or films anywhere. As long as you have a TV or mobile phone, you can easily watch TVs. After the arrival of OTT platforms and all that, things have become very easy for us. Plus, they examine how public screenings have different effects than viewing films alone. They also like to study the difference between public viewing of films in theatre and all that, and also viewing films alone at home and all that. So, coming to the theories, the first one is realism. We have already seen realism in theatre. This is more or less thing. Realism in film is a cinema subcategory that may refer to a slice of life. Cinematic realism is rooted in the tenets of the realism arts movement as well as philosophical realism. So just like realism in drama, movie also have realism. It's slice of life. That means a portion of life that is taken, cut off. That means film has to be realistic. It has to be rooted in realism. And it is rooted in the tenets. Tenets means principles of realism in arts movement. Just like painting or photography, all this you find realism. You find some of the paintings of Michelangelo or Da Vinci and all that. They are very realistic. It's also related to philosophical realism. Philosophical realism actually is a view that whatever we perceive is real, truly out there. Whether we accept it or not, whether you understand it or not, irrespective of our view or our understanding, there is a reality outside. That is the meaning of philosophical realism. In simplest terms, realism is a reflection of the world around us. It is all about depicting life as it is presented to us. It is about taking what we infer reality to be and transposing or transcribing it onto an artistic medium, either in writing, photography, film, etc. So, in simple terms, a film has to reflect the realities of life that we see around us. So that is about realism. Realism in film relies on both narrative and visual realism. So it has to be reflected in the way it is told, the way the story is told, and also how it is pictured, the picturization or this visual aspect. Both should reflect reality. So the story must be grounded in reality and the visuals must match. So these movies are grounded in reality with none of the escapist fantasy of the typical Hollywood blockbuster. So realism means it is unlike the fantasies of the Hollywood. Most of the Hollywood movies are actually, I think 90% or more will be fantasies, whether it is science fiction or not otherwise. French filmmaker Jean Renoir is widely credited as the godfather of realism in film, even though most of his films were shot on set. So this Jean Renoir is known as the father of realism film, and but his films were shot on sets, not outdoor or on locations. His late 1930s films, La Grande Illusion and The Rules of the Game, were major catalysts for introducing realism in film. So these were the two films based on his realistic point of view. By the late 1950s, realism in film had spread to other areas of the world like India with Satyajit Ray's Apu trilogy, and France with François Truffaut's The 400 Blows. So you find that realism had spread to India also with Satyajit Ray's Apu trilogy, and also this French filmmaker François Truffaut. His 400 Blows are there for us in the case studies. We will see that in the early classics we have that film for studies, where we will see that film in detail. These films were structured in the same way, with realistic settings, relatable characters, and relevant narratives. So we have examples of realist films which are based on very realistic settings and even true characters. Next, we move on to the second theory, that is formalism. Formalism film theory, sometimes referred to as formalist film theory, represents the study of technical filmmaking elements. So now we are focusing on the technical aspects of filmmaking, including those related to the lighting and sound of film, the set, props, and costume design. So formalism theory is actually focusing on the technical aspect of filmmaking, like lighting, sound, the set, props, costume design, etc., as well as the use of color, composition, shots, and film editing. So these are some of the things the formalism theory is focusing on. The formalist theorists believe that the director brings the audience an altered reality through the use of various techniques in filmmaking. So according to them, the director is trying to bring an altered reality. That means it is not reality that is brought to us, reality brought in a changed sense by using various techniques of filmmaking. Things such as the training and hiring of professional actors, the use of special effects and editing to speed up or slow down the timing of the events taking place on the screen. So these are some of the aspects of filmmaking they try to focus on. Formalism is essentially the use of filmmaking techniques and elements in order to recreate a world that is imaginary and purely artificial. So actually, even if it is realism, when we are filming it, it can't be real. There is a kind of an element of artificiality in that. So in order to create that imaginary world, they need the help of a lot of techniques and devices. So almost all of the modern movies that we watch today can fall into some level of formalism, because they all make use of these technical elements, because they pretty much all use professional actors, heavy special effects, editing to speed or slow time, and lighting to exaggerate surroundings, as well as sound to further exaggerate the imaginary world. So today you can't imagine filmmaking without the special effects or professional actors, editing, all that. They become part and parcel of every filmmaking. A style of filmmaking that emphasizes aesthetic elements with a consciously evident style in the delivery of narrative. So here every filmmaker is trying to make the most beautiful movie in all its sense. So aesthetic sense, purely the visual elements are, that is the aesthetic part. What we see, that is the quality of the movie, is definitely priority. Formalist film theory is an approach to film theory that is focused on the formal or the technical elements of a film, that is lighting, scoring, sound and set design, use of color, shot composition and editing. Here scoring means music. This approach was proposed by Hugo Munstenberg, Rudolf Arnheim, Sergei Eisenstein and Bela Balzar. So these are some of the people who are actually involved in the formalism theory. The major differences between formalist and realist film theories are the pacing and the focus. Realist films were made popular by the Lumiere brothers, who documented their surroundings. These realist films or actualities, as they were called, were thus, in a sense, early forms of documentaries. So, the realists were actually, made popular by Lumiere brothers, who were some of the first film making companies. So they made mostly documents about happenings in their surroundings. Key characteristics of formalism is the theoretical and critical emphasis on form. So formalists actually emphasize on form, the way it is presented. The distinction between form and content is that content is the work's subject matter, whereas form is what we use and how we present the subject matter. So subject matter is definitely the script and the language or the narrative. Form is how it is conveyed, how the film is made. For example, formalists are aware that mezzoscene, sound, camera, framing, editing and optical effects can be used to create a great work of art. So they try to make use of all the technical aspects of film to create a great work of art. However, these technical features have to be used for a certain purpose. Neo and Russian formalists believed the work of art as a set of devices. They then use these devices to craft a film. So Russian formalists believed that film is almost like a work of art or craft, and they make use of the various devices to create a craft or art, which they call as film. Now we come to the third theory, which is called auteur theory. So auteur theory is a filmmaking it's a theory of filmmaking in which the director is viewed as the major creative force in a motion picture. So here auteur in German means author. Here the author is none other than the director of the film. So he is the central character or central figure in a film. He is the one who is in charge of that movie. Arising in France in the late 1940s, the auteur theory, as it was dubbed by the American film critic Andrew Cyrus, was an outgrowth of the cinematic theories of André Bazin and Alexandre Ostrach. So this theory actually started in France in the late 1940s, and it was an outgrowth of the cinematic theories of André Bazin and Alexandre Ostrach. A foundation stone of the French cinematic movement known as Nouvelle Vague or New Wave, the theory of director as author was principally advanced in Bazin's periodical Cahiers du Cinéma, founded in 1951. So the foundation for the auteur theory was from the cinematic movement called New Wave, the French New Wave, and mostly it is advanced by André Bazin, and two of other theoreticians are Francois Truffaut and also Jean-Luc Godard. later became major directors of the French New Wave. So these were some of the directors of the pioneering directors of this auteur movement or auteur theory. The auteur theory, which was derived largely from Ostrach's elucidation of the concept of camera stylo, that means camera pen, holds that the director who oversees all audio and visual elements of the motion picture is more to be considered the author of the movie than is the writer of the screenplay. So according to them, it is the director who is the author, according to them, who is actually responsible for the whole movie, not the writer of the screenplay. In other words, such fundamental visual elements as camera placement, blocking, lighting, and scene length rather than plot line convey the message of the film. So according to them, it is how the camera is placed. Blocking means the position of characters in the frame. The lighting and scene length, all this what makes a great film, not just the storyline or plot line. Supporters of the auteur theory further contend that the most cinematically successful films will bear the unmistakable personal stamp of the director. So if the film is a great hit, definitely the credit goes to the director. That's what they claim. Now we come to the fourth theory, that is apparatus theory. Apparatus theory is all about the cinematic devices that capture and record optical imagery as required by the demands of the cinematic Bible, which is written movie scripts, and how it really links to the audiences as though like a massive metal chain that never breaks apart. So this theory is actually talking about the relationship between the movie and the audience. So there's a kind of chain that is connecting the audience with the movie. In putting it simply, apparatus theory is an affinity between the movie audiences and the eyes of the movie cameras being used in a cinematic film. So the affinity or closeness is between the audience and also the eyes of the movie camera used for filming it. To be able to understand and identify what the audience wants and vice versa, and also to make audience identify themselves and their passions with the movie they watch. So this theory stresses or emphasizes the need to understand the need of the taste of the audience, because ultimately a film is a product which caters to the need of the people. So unless a film satisfies the need or demand of the society or the consumer, in that sense, a film will not be success. Sergei Eisenstein said, the cinematic exquisite essences and worth rely on how to metamorphose the real world occurrences within the orb lenses of the cameras. So according to Sergei Eisenstein, the most important part of a movie is how well you change the real world occurrences into that movie camera, or how well you are able to mirror the images of the real world and reflect it to the audience. In bringing out the film spectator relationship, apparatus theory is also one such theory that explains the relationship. So it also definitely explains the relationship between film and the spectator or the viewer. According to Metz, here Metz means Christian Metz, we will see him later in semiotics. So he defines cinema as a pre-recorded view of the object, where there are parts in which there is absence of reality. So we are definitely recording the objects in nature or what is on the set, or what you see through the meso-scene. But there are some parts which are not real, that is, there is absence of reality. This is the basic condition that needs to be fulfilled by drama or cinema. That means, though it looks as if it is very real, there are elements which are not real. There is absence of reality. And with such an understanding, the spectator identifies the cinematic apparatus through the act of perception. So once the viewer starts identifying himself or identifies with what is going on, that is possible only once he understands the language of the film. The process of perception originates from the spectator's point of view, as the visual images are seen and transcends in the subject's head, akin to the shots and angles of the camera. The spectators get to experience the narration point of characters that is recorded and shown in the screen. So, how do you begin to understand the film? Definitely, once you are in front of the movie, you watch what is going on in front of you, the visual part of it. The visual images are before you, and then it reaches your mind. You try to understand and interpret that. That is actually the process of perception. And definitely, what you see is what the camera has already seen before while shooting it, and then what the camera is shooting will be reproduced to you in the theater. So that is what is actually the narration point of characters that is recorded before. The spectators become the project's receiver and also the camera that recorded the viewpoint. Here, the viewer is now, after understanding the view or the vision, he is able to identify himself not only as the project but also as a receiver and also the camera that recorded the viewpoint. That means he becomes one with the camera, one with the view, and one with the characters that is before him. This process can be argued it has limited relevance in the real world. On the other hand, this theory can be used as a bridge that peeks into a spectator's thinking process and improve on the projection in consumption of moving images. So this theory may help you when you make a movie, that this movie is going to be viewed by the spectators and what effect it can have on the spectators. So with that, we come to the end of the first class. In the next class, we will see some more film theories. Till then, it is goodbye. Thank you.